Well, one would think it's bad enough that, young college girls are being filmed in their bathrooms by their own, college mates. There is a religious angle to this, although, a lot of people might say there isn't, but whether there is or there isn't, the point is that girls of one community decided to take videos of girls from another community, their own classmates, using the restroom, and these videos appear to have been shared around the town of Udupi. Now, many people are justifying the action of the girls who filmed these videos, calling it a prank. But a lot of us cannot agree with, that kind of an explanation or an excuse. It is impossible to dismiss this story as merely being a prank. And for raising this issue, asking the media, asking the police to take action against this in a manner befitting the mistake or the crime, one young lady, Rashmi Samant, has been victimized and harassed by the Udupi police. And not just her, Smita Prakash of ANI has also gotten security because she has been targeted by a bunch of, very radical elements online. They have issued death threats to her. And also Ms. Shefali Vaidya, who is a prominent influencer on social media, she too has been trolled mercilessly over the issue, or just for bringing the issue of the Udupi girls to the limelight. And I'm now going to introduce all of you to Rashmi Samant, who is she is the person who has been in the line of fire. Rashmi, thank you for joining us. And Aditya Srinivasan is Rashmi's lawyer. And both of them are joining us today to tell us what actually happened and what kind of, why are the police coming to your house in the middle of the night? What actually happened, Rashmi? Can you tell us?
Well, Sandhya, thank you so much for recording a video on this very pertinent issue. I'd like to start off by saying that this is a very heinous crime. The crux of the issue is that a crime has come to pass, and there are many elements trying to brush it under the carpet by calling it a prank. I think we all do understand that there's a clear line of difference between a prank and a crime, and this is clearly a crime. So the minute the line has been crossed, a crime has been committed, and nothing can change that fact. You can't call it childish impertinence, because I think as children we are taught the difference between what is a crime and what is a prank. I think this is very clear to us. We've all been through this phase, and I have been a student not too long ago. I've been
These
a
are college
student.
students. They're not like school students, right? It's
They're
not
not
like
school
little
students.
kids.
Exactly. They're
Yeah.
college going students, they're degree students. And I have been a student as well not too long ago. I've been a student union leader, both in Manipal, which falls in the Udupi district, and abroad. So I've been very active in this space. And I do understand how these issues come to pass. I do understand that these crimes do happen, but nowhere in my entire experience has any institution or any authority tried to brush it down as a prank. This is the very first time that I'm seeing that a crime so serious is being brushed aside as a prank. I've seen many such issues, manifesting in different forms on campuses, in society, due to my various position as a student union leader. But never before has it been brushed aside as a prank. Secondly,
Rashmi,
I think the
sorry.
police actually trying to turn up at my house late at night, trying to, so they've come up with various theories now to justify it. So some of them are saying, some of the policemen are saying they try to ascertain my identity late at night, and some of them are saying, oh, we just wanted to educate her about the issue. So they're coming up with all these measly sort of justifications as to why they came home. But there was clearly no reason to why they came home, because they come home, they're asking very awkward and very misguided questions in a very awkward tone, in a tone
Can
trying
you tell
to.
us some of the questions that were asked?
So one of the questions that was asked was, who is she, where is she, late at night, that because maybe they expected me to be home so late at night, but I wasn't. And they're asking my parents, who am I, what am I, where do I work, did I actually study at Oxford. And they had a couple of news clippings so as to who I am and what I am, and they're trying to say, is this really her, as if I'm impersonating somebody, trying to make me feel like I have committed a crime. All I did was amplify facts which are already available in the news media. I'm not coming up with anything new. I'm not saying I discovered this or this is something that has happened, and it's not reported anywhere. It's widely reported in local media. It's widely reported on mainstream media as well. I'm just amplifying it and saying that more needs to be done. An apology letter and brushing things under the carpet won't do the job. That's all I'm saying. And the police is just coming and trying to investigate who I am, what I am, and what is, my position on this, and why am I doing this. So they're trying to investigate me for raising voice. And I was well within, I think, the remit of my basic freedom of speech, to ask to seek justice. And I think that was the most, what you say, intense part of this whole episode for me, that I'm being questioned for raising this issue, instead of the matter being that the issue is being investigated.
You're absolutely right, and I'm going to pick up from that point, which you made, very pertinent point that you made, that you're well within the limit of of your freedom of speech. Aditya, can I request you to come in and tell us what mistake has Rashmi Samant possibly made that got the police to her residence late in the night asking ridiculous questions?
The fact is that she has not committed any mistake. She has exercised her right to freedom of speech and expression. It's a fair exercise of her right to freedom of speech and expression. Any law student will at some point of time read the Constitution. They would have come across Article 19(1)(a) and then Article 19(2), which sets reasonable restrictions on the right to freedom of speech and expression. It's not clear uh, what element of free speech Rashmi had violated. It's also not clear on what basis the police felt the need to present themselves at her house so late in the evening in an attempt to, quote unquote, ascertain her identity, find out where she is, try and authenticate whether she was actually the author of the tweets. Uh, we now have judgments of the Supreme Court and various other courts which have spoken in some detail about the chilling effect on speech and about how that's not a good thing, which I think is a good progressive thing in any democracy, and it's a good thing that it's been picked up by the courts. The fact that the police would come to Rashmi's house late in the evening, I think, is an example of the sort of attempt to chill Rashmi's speech, and I think that's something that correctly deserves to be condemned.
All right. Now, we're talking about freedom of speech here, but have you spoken to the police as a lawyer, her legal representative? Have you spoken to the police and asked them why they did something like this? Are they looking to charge her with something, or is it just plain harassment? What, have you spoken to them? Have they given any answers?
So I haven't spoken to the police. The police is welcome to contact me, given that Rashmi is now under representation. They're welcome to get in touch with me and ascertain whatever information they think needs to be ascertained. And surely, if that conversation happens, I will be happy to ask questions of my own. But at the moment, no, there's been no conversation with the police. As you know, the police has come out with a statement, of course, but they've made no attempt to contact me.
Okay, so I mean, if there is there are no charges, there's no formal notice for whatever, summons or anything at all. So it just appears that it's probably most likely to be some kind of an intimidatory tactic. Of course, the police, I'm going to be asking the police that, of course.
If I could just comment for another moment. I mean, look,
Sure.
the, the genesis of how this can sort of transform into a crime is, of course, if the police then records that information into writing and then registers an FIR and then conducts an investigation on the basis of it, and then sort of issues notices inviting people to join the investigation. All right. Obviously, in this case, none of that has happened. This is sort of the police just turning up to Rashmi's house, presumably to have a chat and to and I say chat in a very colloquial sense, but it doesn't take very long to try and figure out what the purpose of the police having actually turned up at her residence is. Right now, has there been a crime which has happened? Has is Rashmi in any way responsible for that crime? The answer to the latter question is definitely no. But I think, and Rashmi can of course speak to this a little bit herself. Did the facts that took place in the college in Udupi, does that constitute an infraction of law? I think the answer to that question is yes. If anything needs to be investigated properly, it is that. Not Rashmi for putting out a tweet. Rashmi as a good faith actor, she put out that tweet in good conscience, and I think the police frankly ought to leave her alone.
Well, spot on. I mean, thank you for that term. I think we're going to start using that a lot more since cases such as Rashmi's are increasing in the country. So, good faith actors, let's call them all that. So, Rashmi, let me come back to you. You're from Udupi. You are in Udupi, and Udupi is known to be a sort of a kind of a place where there has always been some kind of tensions between Muslims and Hindus historically, Udupi and the Karauli belt, right? So, in this context, do you feel that this issue gains more importance? This issue of the girls videographing the other girls in their classmates. Do you feel that this has any significance as a result of the historic tensions between two communities in that region?
Sandhya, I think it's a very misinformed narrative, a very misinformed but popular narrative about coastal Karnataka. Coastal Karnataka is not a place where there has been tension between communities. It's been a place where extremist elements have festered. I think we all know about Bhatkal, about where Yasin Bhatkal comes from. It's literally 80 miles from Udupi. So that entire belt, there have been multiple cases of terror cells being active, of terrorist groups taking birth. So it's a place where the Hindu community has put up an active fight against extremism, where they have resisted this kind of terrorism, where they've resisted extremist elements trying to spread terror not only in the region but the rest of the country. So it's kind of a frontier. So you can't, I think the worst part is that the society has somehow labeled it as the hotbed of some kind of tension between communities. No, it is, it is one community actively trying to stop extremism, not just in the region but from spreading to the rest of the country and the world. That's what Udupi and Chikmagalur and the rest of coastal Karnataka is about. It's about doing the right thing. It's about good faith actors having their conscience in the right place. It's the story of many more people like me before me. There have been so many phenomenal people from coastal Karnataka who have actively raised their voice against extremism, and I think that unfortunately plays out negatively in mainstream media because of the ideologies of certain people and certain benefits associated with vote bank politics. But I think it's very wrong to say that it is some kind of a tense area where one community tries to lord over the other. No, this is a much more serious factor, something that affects national security, something that affects the security of the region, and something that has been played out as tension between communities just because it fits the narrative bill. Even now you can see I'm being targeted, somehow I'm being painted as the perpetrator of some grave crime, while all I've done is raise awareness about it. You can clearly see from the attempts being made to muffle my voice that the extent that certain actors might have, the measures that certain actors might have taken to paint this region in a bad way.
All right. That's actually a very fair point that you're making. And I'm going to come to a related point. Now, it's not just you in this issue. You've been speaking openly about it. You've been, vocal about it. So has Shefali Vaidya. She has come out in support of you, and she has also spoken about the same issue. As and Smita Prakash, who's the founder of ANI, she too has been facing flack, and a lot of this is intertwined with a specific set of narratives which have been put out by one Zubair, Mohammed Zubair, who is an influencer on Twitter at least, and he is also with Alt News. He has, of course, had his share of controversies, especially in the Nupur Sharma case, and he has been to jail and back. Now, what role do you think influencers like Zubair play in this whole narrative building and in creating this kind of an issue where the police land up at your doorstep simply for saying that something is wrong in Udupi, in a particular school in Udupi? Yeah.
Sunday, I think this is a two-layered answer, and I think Aditya can also elaborate on this. Firstly, what Zubair has done is actively, if I'm being cavalier, his actions have actually, and his words have actually caused riots in our country. It has actually caused certain people to lose their lives. We know what happened to Umesh Kole. We know what happened to so many more people in the Nupur Sharma case. It's not just about Nupur Sharma, it's about so many people who have lost their lives as a result. I think all he does is dog whistle. He tries to silence voices by, leading a mob that threatens them. You've clearly seen how there's a mob threatening Smita Prakash, how there's a mob threatening me and Shefali. So he targeted both of us, and he targeted more people. He's been targeting women one by one, and I think it is he's not an influencer or a fact checker or a tweeter in any sense. And I think Aditya can add to this because there's actually a real time social repercussion to what he's doing.
Yeah, look, I agree with Rashmi. If I described Rashmi as being a good faith actor who put out a tweet in good conscience, I think Zubair is the exact opposite. He is perhaps closest example of a bad faith actor, and I need not sort of reiterate the points that Rashmi had sort of summarized in terms of the way he has instigated, I think, mobs, and frankly, I would go to the extent of saying that frankly some of the things that he does, some of the tweets that he puts out, also has interestingly a chilling effect on people. I mean, like, given the sort of nefarious, the kind of ill intent that he can sort of bring out in a mass amongst some people, I think him sort of targeting someone really could have the effect of silencing them, and I think that's frankly a problem.
I agree. If this is the outcome, it definitely is a problem. But Zubair, on the other hand, also, he's been tweeting this quite regularly. He says, "I'm being targeted by the right wing elements, and they are issuing death threats to me." And he says he's also a victim. Do you see that?
I don't at all. I mean, look, if you're going to make a if you're going to instigate people to come down heavily, and sometimes in frankly in violent ways against other people, then you can't be saying that, oh look, I'm being targeted for doing these things. Of course, you're going to be called out for that sort of a thing, and it's frankly fair and reasonable, and it should be the case that you're called out for that sort of a thing.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try and reach out to Zubair as well and see what he has to say on this subject, because this has sort of really gone out of hand this time. There have been too many women, especially women journalists and activists, who are being hounded by thanks to Zubair's dog whistling, as we call it. So I will try and speak to Zubair, and I will try and get you his point of view as well. Rashmi, do you have any closing comments? I saw that the BJP Karnataka had sort of reached out to you in some sense. I believe the MP Shobha Karandlaje's team has also reached out to you. They said that some agitations are taking place by the BJP, though the details are not clear yet.
Sandhya, I think, irrespective of everything, my only limited reservation is that a crime has been committed, and those girls who were victims do deserve justice. And I also believe that there needs to be a wider investigation given how extremist elements have operated in the region, and that, innocent girls shouldn't have to pay the price of political ideologues and what is convenient currently for the vote bank politics. That is my limited reservation. I just don't want these girls and their futures to be crushed.
Well, that's you pretty much brought it down to brass tacks, and that's exactly I think what no one can really disagree with, apart from the aside from the politics of it all. So thank you very much, Rashmiji, and thank you, Aditya, for joining us today. And please do know that we stand by you in support here at the lead, and we will definitely continue to track this case, and we will also attempt to do our best, play some kind of a small role in getting justice for those young girls. Thank
Can
you
I
very
make
much.
one quick comment, please, Sandhya?
Sure, sure,
Thank
sure.
you for those remarks and for your support of the girls in the Udupi college as well as Rashmi. I just want to make one small comment whilst going through the statement of the SP of Udupi police and going through some of these other news reports. There was, as you mentioned at the outset, this idea that all of this was a prank. If it was a prank, I don't understand what the prank is, because there has to like a prank needs to have some element of fun or humor involved. I just don't get what
Exactly.
it is.
This has neither. Yeah,
So I think that's a pathetic and sad excuse. It's
it is.
unfortunate that there are some media portals that have given credence to that idea and to that suggestion, and I frankly think they deserve to be condemned, at least for that purpose as well.
No, you're absolutely right. It's just unpardonable if it's being called a prank. I agree with that. So yes, thank you very much, and we'll come back to you as more developments take place in the case, and hope that those young girls do get justice. Thank you, Rashmi, for your courage, and thank you, Aditya, for your support. Thank you, guys.